Grimble by Clement Freud. Tuesday. The morning after Grimble had eaten his coconut tart, he woke up very early, because one doesn't sleep very well on fresh coconut tart eaten hot from the oven. He rushed downstairs. On the mat he saw another telegram, addressed to him with the word priority stamped on one corner. Priority means very important, very urgent. He opened it carefully and read the message. Grimble, take no notice of yesterday's telegram. Love, Father and Mother. The telegram was difficult to understand, because the previous day Grimble had had a telegram saying sending telegram tomorrow, and today was tomorrow, and if his parents did not want him to take any notice of yesterday's telegram, it meant they wouldn't send a telegram today, but they had just sent one because it was in his hand. Very perplexing. He went down to his father's room and took another look at Peru, which had the flag marked US sticking in it. He measured the distance from London to Lima, which is the main town in Peru. It was about the width of one of his hands and 2 fingers. He picked up the globe to take a closer look, and underneath he found another message. Good morning, Grimble, it said. Hope you slept well. By the time you read this, we'll be sending you another telegram, which should reach you when you come back from school. Please remember to wash behind your ears, don't drink your milk too quickly or it might turn into cheese, and stop using the face flannel on your shoes. You know where the shoe brush is. Grimble's school was quite a long walk away from his house. If one arrived early, one met a woman called Mrs. Smug, who cleaned the corridors and kept cough sweets in the pockets of her apron. She gave the cough sweets to the boys because she didn't like cough sweets, but had a very nasty cough, and the doctor said you must take 6 to work every day and come home without them. Good morning, Grimble, said Mrs. Smug, coughing nasty. Would you like a cough sweet? As Grimble had just seen a spider climbing out of Mrs. Smug's other pocket and hated cough sweets and marzipan, but was a very polite boy, he said, I prefer not, but will if you insist. Actually, I still feel a bit ill from last night's coconut tart. As this may be, said Mrs. Smug, using one of her favourite phrases. Cooked the coconut tart myself, Grimble added proudly. Good heavens, said Mrs. Smug, which was the favourite phrase of her late husband. You made a coconut tart all on your own? With coconut, said Grimble. Did you rub the flour into the fat? Asked Mrs. Smug. I did exactly as it said I should in the paper, said Grimble. Just then the school bell clanged and Grimble ran into the building. The teacher was calling out the names of the boys to see who was there. He called out a name, and if no one answered, he marked this seat D or A, which meant the boy in question was either deaf or absent. If any boy's name was marked D or A for more than a week, he'd send a doctor to the boy's house. The doctor always carried an ear syringe in case it turned out the boy was deaf. Gamble, said the teacher. Here, sir, said the boy. Glitter, sir, said another. Green. There was silence. Come on, Green, said the teacher. Speak up, boy, can't you? As nothing happened, and no one said anything, the teacher marked him D or A and called out, Grimble. Here, sir, said Grimble. That morning they had history. I want, said Mr. Willow, history master, you boys to write down the names of all the kings and queens of England while I sit down at my desk and watch you. There'll be no talking, and the last boy to finish must stay behind after school and mend my bicycle pump. 5 minutes later Mr. Willow was asleep in his chair. The boys were making paper darts out of their exercise books and floating them over the classroom. When the bell rang for the end of the lesson, Mr. Willow woke up and said, There now, let that be a lesson to you. Have you learned something? Battle of Waterloo, 1815. Magna Carta, 1215. Lunch, 1:15. Lunch on a Tuesday was sausages and mash, unless they'd had sausages and mash on Monday, in which case it was shepherd's pie made from yesterday's cut-up sausages covered with old mashed potatoes. None of the other boys were very keen on the food, which was probably why so many stayed away from school, but Grimble liked it very much. He liked everything about school. It was tidy and organised, and he always knew what was going to happen next, which was a nice change from life at home. After lunch it was sport. The boys got into a coach and were taken to a playing field by the side of a wood where there was a goal at the top of the hill. Some of the older boys said there used to be another at the other end of the field, but a few years ago on Guy Fawkes night, someone had tied a rocket to the goalpost and the whole thing had shot up in the air and no one knew where it came down. As shops do not sell single goals, and his school was too sensible to buy 2 goals and be left with one they had no use for, they played a game called twinge. It was like football, except that the first half 11 boys stood in goal and the other 11 shot the ball at them. For the second half everyone changed sides. The team that scored more goals were called the winners and were able to go home without having to have a bath. As Grimble's side lost by 61 goals to 2, Mrs. Turtle, the games mistress, kept them quite late. By the time he got back to his house, the telegram had lain on the doormat for so long the edges were beginning to curl up. He opened the envelope and inspected the message. "Thinking about you. Message in the ironing cupboard. Don't forget teeth. Love, Father and Mother." That, decided Grimble, was more like a telegram. He went to the ironing cupboard, rummaged about a bit among the clothes, and finally, in the pocket of his bathing trunks, he found the message. It was written in green ink on a large squashed fly biscuit, and said, "Do not eat this biscuit, because eating green ink is bad for you. Love, Father and Mother." "If that's a grown-up joke, I'm glad I'm a child," thought Grimble. He brushed his teeth angrily, and looked at the list of people his parents told him to go to if he needed anything. He quite liked the mosquito household, who had been yesterday, but by the time he'd left the kitchen, they'd been absolutely full of washing up, and marzipan were things he did not like. So he looked up the next people. These were the Featherstones, who lived next door in a house that once belonged to a magician, was full of old silk hats and rabbits left behind from the old man's conjuring days. Colonel Featherstone was grey and fierce and in charge of the army. When he had field marshals in for dinner and found that instead of a napkin his guests got 8 silk handkerchiefs tied together with knots no one could undo, he did not think it a bit funny. Mrs. Featherstone was a kind lady who cooked muffins for her husband to try to make him happier. Grimble didn't think this worked very well. Sometimes when he was just going to sleep he'd hear them arguing. "I'm sorry, dear," said the Colonel's wife. "Attention!" shouted the Colonel. "Left turn! Quick march! Halt! Out turn!" Seemed a funny way to live. When Grimble got to the front door, he was pleased to see they were expecting him. "Grimble," said a notice tied to the stuffed parrot which served as a bell pull. "Come on in! Quick march! Right turn! Halt! Salute Ministry Officer!" Grimble came in and found himself saluting the gas cooker, to which was fixed a note which said, "Grimble, stand at ease, eat cold meat and salad, well done." On the table was a leg of something that could have been an elephant, but was probably beef. There was also lettuce and tomato and cucumber and beetroot and radishes and oil and vinegar and salt and lemon juice. On the shelf was a box of eggs and a book which was called Army Manual About Eggs. He propped the book against one of the lettuces and began to read. "Attention," said the first sentence. "This is an egg. Lesson 1. Is it a hard-boiled egg?" Grimble looked at the egg and said, "I don't know." "Well then," said the book, "spin it the way you spin a top. If it stands up, it's boiled. If it squelches around slowly, the yolk is glumping about, and it's raw." He turned the eggs and worked out which were raw and which were boiled. "Lesson 2. Open the eggs, see if you're right." This was going to be fun. He took the parts of raw eggs and hard-boiled eggs and saw how many mistakes he'd made. "Lesson 3. How to make a halved hard-boiled egg. Take knife in right hand. Hold egg with left hand. Push down knife." Lesson 4. How to make a salad cream called mayonnaise. Having made the mayonnaise, he dipped the hard-boiled egg halves into it and ate them. As there were lots and lots of pages of the manual still to read, he decided to look at the end of the book, because usually if you turn to the last page you get the best part. He turned to the last page and it said, "Grimble, attention! Wipe your mouth! Go to bed!" He stood up, saluted smartly and left Colonel Featherstone's house. When he got home he brushed his teeth, said his prayers and was just going to sleep when he remembered his homework. He was to write a poem about a horse. So he got a piece of paper and wrote, "The Horse," by Grimble. "A horse has got more legs than I, but fewer than a centipede. He wears a bridle instead of a tie, and is sometimes called a steed." The end. Then he went to sleep.